Well, after what we saw on Raw, it would be terrible of me if I didn't pay my own tribute to John Cena. So, I mean, this was meant to be a baseball hat, but after looking around my house, I realized I don't own one, and also, that's right, I've got my trusty musical instrument, so let's do it together. 3, 2, 1. If that was ever John Cena's entrance music, I don't think he would have been the star he is today. That's right, this episode of Raw was all about John Cena, and I'll tell you now for free, mostly because it's YouTube, it was pretty damn emotional. But what about the rest of the show? Well, we take the finger of power, and we give the good bits an up, and I believe we give the bad bits a down. So, WWE really likes John Cena, because this episode Raw started with him coming to the arena and every single person on the roster just welcoming him and going, "Oh, John, we love you so much, you're the best. We can't live without you, John." And him being like, "You all got to calm down." That last bit didn't happen. I liked all of this though because he has reached that level. He's now in that upper echelon that only a few get to. And there were some good jokes here as well. Like Becky Lynch was waving, but she had her stupid glasses on because of course she's depressed these days. What a way to kick things off. And then Raw went weird, because of course it did. Just from nowhere, we were having a last chance Money in the Bank qualifier battle royal. And I was like, where did that come from? And even more ridiculous, Riddle was in it. And do you remember how a week ago, Riddle had his own qualifying match and he lost to Omos? That's right, you know. There was a ton of people in this as well, obviously, but the only ones that got entrances were Shinsuke Nakamura, the Mysterios, and Riddle himself. And then halfway through, I was like, wait a minute, AJ Styles is in it, and he wasn't allowed to get an entrance, like he's not one of the best wrestlers ever. So when you take all the stuff with Riddle, the fact that this did just go poof, here I am now, and what we did to the Phenomenal One, you do have to give it a down, because I spent the first 5 minutes of Raw asking questions, nobody answered them. Down. However, fair play to WWE for rectifying this, because everything we did do a week ago was stupid. That's right, it was stupid. Riddle is clearly super over right now, and clearly people are engaging with him, so you don't have him in one of the biggest matches of the year. You find a way to make him a star player, and he doesn't have to win, but he should be competitive. I did have some other worries though, including the one with Veer, who we're meant to fear. That's what he told us 7 days ago, and while here, he did chuck a couple of people out, eventually he just got eliminated, and it didn't feel like that big a deal at all. So we have to keep our eye on this one, but again, I have concerns. It was around this time I realized Ricochet was in it too, so I was like, bang, bang, bang. The brand split is absolutely dead, and for some reason, Shanky and Jinder Mahal were working together, even though they have fallen out over the last month. And this made Shanks look really stupid, because of course Jinder screwed him over and threw him over the top rope. I mean, why didn't you just stick to dancing? The final four were eventually AJ Styles, Ricochet, The Miz, and Riddle, and after Styles had gotten rid of Shay, it actually looked like we may have a bit of a tete-to-tete between Riddle and Styles. However, before this, The Miz had pretended to be injured, and this is when he snuck back in there, and he screwed over AJ Styles and he chucked him over the top rope. At least that's what I would like to be saying, because instead, AJ went to hit the final forearm by hopping over that thing, so Miz just pulled him to the floor. Now that made him look like an absolute chump, but thankfully there was no other shenanigans. Riddle eventually threw out The Miz. He is now going to Money in the Bank and flubbed me sideways. What a hard road this was to get to where we needed to be. This was all right up. And then my heart broke. Because I was so excited for Kevin Owens versus Elias, or Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel, or Kevin Owens versus Elrod, but we were told this was not now going to be happening this evening. Now, nobody told us why, because they never did, and I can only presume that Kevin Owens wasn't on the show because he's injured or he's ill, so I sent all best wishes to him. I was just so damn disappointed, although bravo to WWE, because it goes to show how good this storyline is, but I really wanted it, and I didn't get it. We also had this ridiculous segment with the Street Profits, because they went up to John Cena backstage. They were like, John, please teach us your ways, like he's Mr. Miyagi or something. Because even though they have defeated the Usos, it's always been by ridiculous means. He basically just went, believe in yourself, you're the Street Profits. And they went, oh, well, that's the greatest information ever. Now, don't get me wrong, I liked all of these. But when you actually listen to what they're saying, It was gibberish. We really went in on this return too, as we've already made clear, because throughout the evening, we also had a bunch of these 2-camera videos. Now, the obvious people were here. We had Triple H, we had Shawn Michaels, we had JBL, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin, but we also had Daniel Bryan, that guy is back, The Big Show, and Chris Jericho. Now, as it turned out, apparently WWE reached out to Tony Khan, and Tony Khan said, of course, I'd love for them to do all of this. Honestly, I much prefer this to the whole war, blood, murder, let's kill everything. It's just so nice to see people playing together. And then Montez Ford defeated Jey Uso, probably using the advice of John Cena. That's fine. I mean, this is just the next step in the Street Profits versus the Usos feud. And basically, WWE has realized recently, oh yeah, we better have Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins win some matches. Otherwise, no one's actually going to believe they'll win the tag team titles at Money in the Bank. There was also countless distractions by Dawkins and Jimmy throughout all of this, because who needs rules in WWE? And by the end of it, it literally went dive, 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 big dive, 1, 2, 3, because Montez Ford hit his wonderfully looking frog splash and he got the tree. So will they win at the weekend? I absolutely doubt it, but I shall give it an up. And no, not in a million years does this get on the clean finished counter, because beforehand, like I say, it may as well have been a flippin' 4-way. And I got to be sort of strict with this stuff. Otherwise, what is the point? I'm also officially concerned about the Judgment Day. I mean, they weren't even on the show last week, and ever since Edge has been kicked out of the group, just kind of feels like WWE doesn't really care. At least they were here this week, and Finn Balor and Damian Priest went to find the Mysterios, and they were like, hi, Ray, you should be really upset. Everybody walking around going, John Cena, 20 years, but we're coming up to your 20-year anniversary, and you're a pretty legendary wrestler, and yet nobody cares. They also wanted to know, given how successful he had been, why is his son Dominic so crap? That's basically what they said, and they even insinuated that he was a terrible father. So of course Rey Mysterio got all riled up, and at one point it looked like Dommy was going to attack the Judgment Day, but he didn't, and then Dad did indeed issue a challenge for next week. Because why wouldn't you do that? Somebody has just insulted you. You don't want to fight them now. Give it 7 days. And when I sit down and think about it, I actually think Dominic should turn on his father, like a Star Wars or something, and join this group, because I just think it would be a little bit different. And at the moment, the Mysterios aren't doing much of anything. As I hold them in my hand, we shall wait and see. Now, is there more loving videos for John Cena that we've already discussed? When it was time for Miz TV. Flippin' Miz TV. And if you were looking for sense this week too, well, you didn't get it. And in around about 2 minutes I realised, oh wait, no, it's not Miz TV. It's just Kevin Patrick interviewing The Miz, which begs the question, why wasn't it Miz TV? The whole point here though was that Miz was asked about the fact that Logan Paul is training for his big WWE return. He posted some stuff on social media. And The Miz went, well, where do you think he got the ring? And why do you think he's doing this? I had a word with him, and we're going to team up again, probably at SummerSlam. So do you remember at WrestleMania when The Miz turned on Logan Paul? You were wasting your time even caring about that little bit, because we've just gone pop, and we kicked it out the window. And you just know it's going to happen again after that match, and this time you'd be like, well, I can't possibly care about this, because I don't trust it. And it actually does look like we're doing a feud between AJ Styles and The Miz, because after this, The Miz went, oh yeah, that AJ guy, he's a massive prick. They then started talking about testicles, because we've already addressed this before. There was a funny skit with Maurice about a month ago, and somebody in the back thought it was so hilarious, we just have to get it over and over again. And I've just got to level with you. I just got to tell you the truth. I don't care if somebody has big balls. I don't care if somebody has small balls. I don't care if somebody has average balls. They're just testicles, and I got bigger problems in my life. All of this upset AJ too, because he came out and just beat up The Miz. And you do have to give this a down, especially because after that, ding, we were just having the match. The real issue with this one is that it went around about 10 minutes, and it was decent for what it was, and then just as AJ Styles was going to go for the roll or forearm, Miz just went, no, don't want to get hit in the face. See ya, pal. I'm going to walk to the back. And I started spinning around, thinking to myself, I believe that was a waste of my life. I mean, it honestly was like Maurice was shouting from the aisleway, honey, honey, if you come back here right now, she's got a weird voice, if you come back here right now, you're going to get a lifetime supply of ice cream. It's like, oh man, I love ice cream. In fact, that would have been better. Then you could have come up with this story where The Miz is obsessed with ice cream and he loves ice cream more than he loves wrestling. I mean it too. WWE should do that, and it's getting it down. And talking of stupid things, we then got the best nonsense. Because Cena bumped into Ezekiel backstage, and while at first it looked like he was going to be like, why are you doing this, Elias? He didn't, and he started to play along, and I tell you, This is just the greatest storyline of all time. He even asked where Elias was, and Zeke said that he's showing Elrod around. And the only sad part here is I was just desperate to see that match with Kevin Owens. Please give it to me on SmackDown. It ended with Johnny reminding Ezekiel to never forget who he was, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And when he did turn around, who was looking at him right in the face? It was Theory. Now, this has been teased for ages, and I'm still not 100% sure what the plan is, but my word, did we allow Theory to eviscerate this man. He just yelled in John Cena's face, "You're a piece of crap, I don't like you, and I would beat you in the ring." And John just looked at him. I will tell you this, given it was only like a 30-second segment, I thought it was rather effective. Theory tried to take a selfie at one point, and Cena just walked off. And I tell you, this is what we should do. Let them have a match at SummerSlam or whatever pay-per-view, premium live event that you choose, and have Theory win. Because if you sing about it enough, that will be a massive deal. And as we're pushing this guy anyway, that will probably get him in a cannon. And elevate him to the moon. And then Bianca Belair and Carmella had their segment. I don't want to be this guy, but it really does feel like a filler feud. It started with Bianca in the ring saying that Carmella was an idiot, so maybe she'd idiot her way to the ring. So Carmella did come out and say, "No, I'm not an idiot, but I do deserve some more respect." Probably does. She then pretended she was going to leave, but she tried to blindside Bianca, but thankfully we do have a smart babyface champion. So she beat Carmella up and she threw her out the ring. And put your hands up if you'd be willing to bet your life that Belair is going to win on Saturday. Now put your hands down. What are you doing betting your life on wrestling? It's not worth it. And there's no way you can argue that WWE couldn't be doing more than this, but it was fine, it was all right, it didn't offend me, and I actually think they will have a decent match. But when we get to the other side of the weekend, I don't think we're going to be going back to this, but up. And are you ready for this too? Because I promised it happened. Because Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan were in the back, and they said even though they're friendly towards each other, they're not friends because they can't trust anyone. And I was like, I see what's going on here. One of you has been cast in the new Batman movie as the new Riddler. Morgan then said she would murk Bliss at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and because it was John Cena night, also said, "My time is now." And this is when Alexa took her Lily doll and she pooped Liv Morgan on the nose. And I'm just going to level with you. I could take more poops in wrestling. I liked when Chris Statlander used to do it, and I shall support it until the day I die. And as it turned out, this was all building up to then having a match. Whatever. Oscar was on commentary throughout all of this, and it was a delight, and as ever it went 3 minutes. And because Liv Morgan was winning, Alexa Bliss just beat the crap out of her until Morgan surprised her with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. It was done. This also brings me to a problem that I've been scared of, because technically this counts as a clean finish. However, the whole joke, the whole reason I go the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment is because WWE uses this when they don't really want a winner and they don't want a loser. They just need a match finish and they don't know how to get out of it. So in that sense, no, context is king, and it does not count as a clean pin. If you want to get mad at me, there's comments down there. Seriously, you shouldn't get mad about this. It's such a trivial thing. I mean, who even cares? And I kind of thought this was okay. I mean, it was just there. Give it up. This run of Vince McMahon just appearing on WWE TV then continued when he's walked to the ring to introduce John Cena. And it's lucky he did do that, because within about 3 minutes I'd forgotten that Vinny was even on this show. Because flub me, John Cena is great. We went all out again because wrestlers lined the entranceway as he did come out, and the fans reacted like a flipping king had arrived on the scene. And I tell you, I've said it once, I'll say it twice, John Cena is just up here now, and he's never going to go back down to where he is. He is a legend, and he deserves every single one of these praises. He made sure to drop in his favourite line about how he doesn't like looking to the past because he always wants to look future, and he honestly has been saying that for around about 20 years, and he really took his time here to thank the fans. And this wasn't one of those promos where you just go, "Oh man, I thank you so much." He truly meant this. He was getting all emotional. The crowd then thanked him too, and there was a really nice moment where he said, "Hey, you guys have made me a better professional, a better wrestler, and a better human being." And I'm sure some of that is learning how to not conduct yourself in public. I'm only joking. I'm referencing those crazy people on Twitter. He then hit the tease button and said now that he is 45 years old, he doesn't know when he's going to wrestle again. But then as the crowd started to go, "One more match," he went, "I promise you there'll be more than one," so that was great. And really, that is that. I mean, Sting is 63 and jumping off entranceways, so Johnny Boy may have a good 10 years left. It did kind of get a bit strange because John went and hugged the kid and he just left, so there was no interruptions. But once again, the best thing about professional wrestling is when you can get that proper emotive response, and that's exactly what this was. you should go and watch it. I actually think it made John Cena an even bigger hero, and who knew that was possible? Get it up. I also assume he's going to be back sooner than we think, and this was just a big tease, probably SummerSlam. But yeah, I love John Cena. He is still to this day quite underrated. And it was then the Alpha Academy versus Bobby Lashley. I mean, I don't know, why not? Theory was also the special enforcer too, so who the hell is running Raw right now and why do they hate Bobby Lashley? Because this was massively unfair, and this basically went exactly how you think it would go. Bob ran wild for a while, Theory did some distraction interfering, the Alpha Academy then took over, but Bobby Lashley is too good, and he won. The thing is though, Chad Gable is such a terrific wrestler, he was doing some great stuff, and there was this awesome bit where Otis was going for the Vader bomb, but Lashley stood up and gave him an electric stare instead, and then when Chad jumped off the top rope with a flying nothing, he went into the Hurt Lock, and he tapped out. All three guys tried to jump Bobby after this, but you'll be surprised to hear he was able to fight them off. And I think given that it is Bobby Lashley versus Theory for the US title this Saturday, then maybe Lashley should win. I mean, I don't think he's going to, but he's so damn strong, why would you do anything else? And I do admit that I'm not feeling this feud at all, but it ticked along nicely here, so I shall give it an up. And also, yeah, pull down the counter, move it up to 4. This definitely counted as a clean finish. I then popped out of my seat because Cody Rhodes was on Raw. Now, it kind of feels like we should have advertised this beforehand, but he was talking to us from his rehab center, and he talked about Money in the Bank, he talked about John Cena, he talked about Seth Rollins, and he talked about his comeback. He was also putting people over like crazy here. He talked about Sheamus, talked about Drew McIntyre, he talked about Omos, and even said, well, they're telling me it's going to be 9 months, but maybe it'd be a little bit sooner. He also teased that Rollins could win the Money in the Bank briefcase and cash in for a second time, much as he did at WrestleMania 31. And if that did happen, he'd be the first guy falling over here. He'd be the first guy to go up to him and say congratulations. So let's just do it. Seth Rollins does exactly this at SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes comes back, win the Royal Rumble. Next is WrestleMania. I'm having some kind of brain problem. Seth versus Cody. Cody wins, become the champion. I feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, give it up. Also, given the names we've just mentioned, something we could also do before then is John Cena versus Seth Rollins, especially because here they had a little bit of a chat. They found each other in the back, and Seth is just the absolute best, because as he approached John, he was doing his laugh, but his laugh was done to the theme of John Cena's entrance music. So he was actually going, ha 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 ha, and it's just such a strange thing to do, somebody give him a medal. He also reminded Cena about that time he broke his nose, and if you've never seen that, make sure you do, because it is gnarly. And around at this point, John started to go, oh my gosh, and act like he was terrified. This is when Seth Rollins turned around and there was Omos. MVP joined in too and said that terrible things were going to happen at the premium live event, like Omos winning the briefcase. I'm joking once again. I really like Omos. I think he gets a hard rap. Anyway, the point was Cena acted all like, oh my gosh, he's so tall before he did walk off. But I did enjoy all these interactions throughout the 3 hours. Made this Raw quite fun. Then it was time for the main event. It was the last chance to get in the women's Money in the Bank, and because we don't have many people on that roster, it was an elimination match instead, and it was between Becky Lynch, Xia Li, Doudrop, Nikki Ash, Tamina, Nobody Meena, and Shayna Baszler. Becky won. It's also turned out to be an elimination match, so I have decided we should go through every single loss and rank where this person probably features on WWE's made-up chart. So the first one to leave was Xia Li after Becky Lynch gave her the manhandle slam, and I'm sorry, ever since she's been called up for NXT, WWE has done nothing with Xia Li. So on our ranking board, she's got to get a 1. Nikki then got tapped out to the disarmer at this stage. I think we've got to put her up to 2. And then really sadly, the next person to go was Shayna Baszler. This one really did hurt because Baszler is so good, but WWE never does anything with her. Although, do you remember when she was a vampire? And you probably got to put her around about 2.5, which is doubly disappointing because the stell goes up to 57. Tamina was then out after Doudrop hit her with an elbow off the top rope, and that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I think you got to put Miss Meena at 0.5 because she literally never wins. This left Lynch the drop to battle her out, and I actually thought that was pretty good too, especially because it finished with a manhandle slam off the second rope, which in its own weird way did protect Doudrop. It also made Becky Lynch look like a badass, so I'm going to put Doudrop around about 34, whereas the man, 789. And no, None of that made any sense. This also means Becky is finally going to Money in the Bank, and the only real shame there is that this is the exact same story that we're doing with Riddle, and I always like it where, we don't copy storylines, because why would you do that? You don't see that in other shows. However, I enjoyed this match. I thought it was a good end to Raw. Get it up. It is also a clean finish, so bring it down and mark it up to 5. And surprise, surprise, because Doudrop looked like a warrior here, I didn't care that she lost to Becky Lynch, and she actually probably comes out the other side being more of a badass. That is how wrestling is meant to work. Although when you look at that counter, we're up to 5 over 2 shows. I don't think this is going to work out as intended. Which also brought us to the end of Raw, and I'm going to tell you, given that it was the go-home show for Money in the Bank, it was a little bit lackluster, but thankfully John Cena was on this thing, and that made it all peaches and cream. Getting it up. Now please do leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, go to WhatCulture.com, follow us on social media, go and watch all the ups and downs because they're out there yearning for you. Plus, I would appreciate it. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as always. The wrestling just keeps on coming. It's like a train storming towards our demise. I don't even know what that means. Goodbye.